All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight. We're going to call this meeting to order. Call the November 19th, 2025 public information meeting to order at, we have 7:02. Great disclosure of pecuniary interest today. Councilor Spillis, hang on a second.
Zoning bylaw application D14, Danby, property location known as 4631 Side Road 20 North, Township Puslinch. This public information meeting is in regard to the Estill development proposed on Side Road 20 North. I reside on Side Road 20 North, which may be impacted by this development should it proceed. As such, my property value may be affected, which requires that I declare a pecuniary interest as defined in the municipal conflict of interest act.
The purpose of this public meeting is to inform and provide the public with the opportunity to ask questions or to express views with respect to the development proposal. The councilors are here to observe and listen to your comments. However, they will not make any decisions this evening. The township requests that you please notify by email staff at planning@puslinch.ca or by phone at 519-763-1226 extension 4 if you wish to be on record regarding the zoning bylaw amendment application and would like to be notified of future hearings and decisions regarding this application. The county requests that you please provide by email staff at landdivisioninfo@wellington.ca if you wish to be on record regarding the official plan amendment application and would like to be notified of future hearing and decisions regarding this application. So for clarity, this is two public information meetings. It's the Wellington County Public Information Meeting and for the OPA, and it's the Township Zoning Bylaw Amendment information. So you can submit the same comments or different comments to both processes. I ad-libbed that. Please note, the meeting is video and audio recorded, and all electronic meetings are uploaded to the municipality's YouTube page. By attending this meeting in person or by registering to participate in the meeting by electronic means, you are consenting to have your likeness and comments recorded and posted on YouTube. Please note, in accordance with amendments to the Planning Act through Bill 185, the following parties may appeal this application to the Ontario Land Tribunal for a hearing: the applicant, a specified person, a public body, the registered owner of the property to which the bylaw will apply, and the minister. Please note that if a specified person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or written submissions to the Township of Puslinch before the decision is made, the specific person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Township of Puslinch to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Does that same statement apply to the county OPA? It does. Okay. In addition, if a specified person or public body does not make an oral submission at a public meeting or make written comments to the Township of Puslinch before the decision is made and the county, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. You may wish to talk to township staff regarding further information on the appeal process. The format of this public meeting is as follows. The applicant or agent will present the purpose and details of the application and any further relevant information. Township's planner will then provide a brief presentation. Following this, the public can obtain clarification, ask questions, and express their views. We actually have 3 presentations from members of the public prior to the question period from people in attendance here tonight, as well as our online attendees. Members of the public are permitted 10 minutes each to ask questions, express their views. This time limit is imposed to provide each member of the public an opportunity to speak. Council will then have an opportunity to ask any clarification questions. The applicant and the township's planning consultant will attempt to answer questions or respond to concerns this evening. If this is not possible, the applicant and or staff will follow up and obtain this information. Responses will be provided when this matter is brought forward and evaluated by council at a later date. This public meeting involves an application by Puslinch Development GP Incorporated. Official planning zoning bylaw application, Danby 4631 Side Road 20 North, Township of Puslinch, County of Wellington. The purpose and effect of the proposed official plan amendment is to redesignate the majority of the subject lands from secondary agriculture to rural employment area. Purpose and effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is to amend the Township of Puslinch zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended to rezoning the lands municipally referred to as 4631 Side Road 20 North from an agricultural future Development 3, FD3, and Natural Environment NE zone to an industrial zone to permit a large-scale prestige employment development comprised of office, manufacturing, warehousing, and associated uses. And add a site-specific use to permit the proposed daycare center. Would the owner / applicant make the presentation?
Good evening, Mayor Sealy and members of council.
Listen, you can pull that mic up towards you. There we go. Oh. Sarah or someone.
Yeah,
That's right.
my name is Emily Elliott, and I'm with MHBC Planning, and we're the applicants with respect to this official plan amendment.
Yep.
Go even higher.
Just get closer.
Is that better?
That's better.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, definitely very close to it.
Good evening, Mayor Sealy and members of council. My name is Emily Elliott, and I'm with MHBC Planning. And we're the applicants with respect to this zoning bylaw amendment application and the official plan amendment application for 463 Road, Side Road, or sorry, 4631 Side Road 20 North in Puss Lynch. The site is owned by Puss Lynch Developments GP Inc. And we appreciate the opportunity to speak at this public meeting this evening. We can go to the next slide, please. This slide shows the location of the property. The site has an area of about 25 hectares or 61 acres. It's triangular in shape and has frontage on Side Road 20 North, Concession Road 4, and is adjacent to the Hanlon Expressway. The site does not contain any buildings and is presently used for agricultural purposes. There is a small wetland on the western portion of the site, and opposite the lands to the west are lands that are in the city of Guelph and used for employment purposes as part of the Hanlon Creek Business Park. Next slide, please. Thank you. This slide shows the proposed development. The site is intended to be developed as a prestige employment campus that includes office, manufacturing, warehouse, and associated uses. All uses proposed to be developed are dry industrial uses, meaning that they do not require water supply for their operations. The intent is that the development would employ a range of professionals, including engineering, marketing, accounting, sales, and customer services. The proposal will result in significant job creation and employment investment in Puss Lynch. The first phase is shown in blue on the screen, and it includes a 2-story industrial building that's intended to serve as the Canadian head office for Danby Appliances. And then future phases would include additional industrial and employment uses in separate buildings. Complementary uses are also proposed, including a daycare and fitness center, as well as on-site amenity spaces for the public and employees of the site. There are also publicly accessible trails proposed, as well as on-site stormwater management facilities. Together, the stormwater management facility, the wetland, and the trails serves as a focal point for this development. Access to the site is proposed by Concession Road 4 for the first phase. Next slide, please. Future phases contemplate the additional 2 buildings shown on the screen in orange and an additional access on Side Road 20. And like I said, the additional complementary uses include a daycare and fitness center. And you can go to the next slide, please. Thanks. The next couple of slides contain rendering of the proposed development. The first slide here shows the phase 1 building that's intended to be the Danby headquarters. The principles for this development are to reflect a high degree of architectural design and sustainability while creating an innovative employment campus. The building itself is oriented to the western portion of the property, adjacent to the Hanlon and Concession Road 4, and is well set back from Side Road 20. Next slide, please. This slide shows the potential full build out of the site, including the daycare and gym and the potential future phases in orange. And you can see that the overall plan includes protection of the natural features as well as the on-site amenities that I mentioned. And that there is significant tree planting proposed, and including significant tree planting alongside Road 20 and Concession Road 4. And that will help serve as a buffer to the adjacent residential uses. Next slide, please. In order to permit the development, official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications are required. With respect to the official plan, currently the majority of the subject lands are designated secondary agriculture, with the western portion being designated rural employment areas and the wetland being designated core greenlands. The official plan amendment application seeks to redesignate the portion of the lands designated secondary agriculture to rural employment. The portion designated core greenlands will remain within that designation. The official plan amendment application will include site-specific considerations with respect to phasing. And this application is outside of the Puslinch by Design process and is a privately initiated application. Next slide, please. With respect to the zoning bylaw amendment application, the site's currently zoned agriculture and future development. And the zoning bylaw seeks to impose an industrial zone with site-specific regulations. These site-specific regulations are intended to refine the list of permitted uses to reflect only those that are proposed as part of this development. And those are listed on the screen and include a business or professional office, a caterer's establishment, commercial fitness center, dry industrial uses, and a warehouse, as well as permission for accessory uses, including a retail or factory outlet. The zoning clarifies that all industrial uses are proposed to be dry uses, and it also restricts Class 3 industrial facilities, which are heavy industrial uses, and that's to ensure land use compatibility with adjacent residential lands. Next slide, please. The applications were submitted in February 2025 with a resubmission to address township comments in July of this year. The submission included all the reports that are listed on the screen there, which included analysis related to land use planning and urban design, transportation and traffic, provision of services and stormwater management, as well as grading plans, an environmental impact study, a hydrogeological report and an arborist report, a land use compatibility assessment, an archaeological assessment, and MDS analysis. These reports are all currently being reviewed by township and county staff, as well as by external agencies, including the GRCA. The technical reports submitted demonstrate that the proposed development can be accommodated on this site, and following the public meeting, we will submit revised reports to respond to the circulation comments, as well as comments we're hearing through the public process. Next slide, please. In terms of the location of the development, this site represents an opportunity for immediate economic development and job creation in the township. It is aligned with the Puslinch by Design process as it addresses the locational criteria of the study and was ranked favorably through the study. The lands have good access to existing and planned transportation networks as they're adjacent to the Hanlon and are close to the recently constructed Hanlon Expressway mid-block interchange. The site's also adjacent to the Hanlon Creek Business Park and represents the natural extension of those employment uses. There is no site access to Side Road 20 for the initial phase. And then with respect to general characteristics of the site, it is undersized for agricultural uses, and it does not impact adjacent agricultural operations in terms of MDS considerations. Next slide, please. With respect to site design, as I mentioned, the intent is to develop a prestige employment campus with modern and contemporary architectural design. The site and the building design can address land use compatibility considerations through incorporating landscaping as well as setbacks and buffering in appropriately located buildings. As I mentioned, the intent is to locate the industrial buildings adjacent to the Hanlon and the City of Guelph employment lands and to be well set back from Side Road 20. The design also incorporates a 20-meter landscape buffer alongside Road 20 and Concession Road 4 and enhanced green spaces, including trails and amenity space. All of these site design considerations will be addressed through a future site plan approval process as well. Next slide, please. With respect to traffic and transportation, a traffic impact study was undertaken in support of the proposed development. It has been reviewed by the county and township, and a resubmission will be filed to respond to the comments received. The traffic study sets out the estimated cars and trucks for this site on a daily basis. To clarify, building 1 is anticipated to generate 222 vehicles in the morning and 392 vehicles in the evening, as well as 3 trucks in the morning and 4 trucks in the evening. And at the time of full build out, the site is anticipated to generate 455 cars in the morning and 849 cars in the evening, as well as 13 trucks in the morning and 14 trucks in the evening. Through the resubmission of the traffic report, there'll be also more details provided with respect to transportation improvements. And these will include improvements required as part of phase 1 that will include pavement upgrades and intersection improvements to accommodate truck routes. And then as part of full build out, we're contemplating a service road in order to connect the site with the access on Concession Road 4 and the Hanlon. Next slide, please. In terms of water usage and groundwater resources, several reports were prepared, including a hydrogeological assessment, a servicing report, and a stormwater management report. And these reports document anticipated water usage. For building 1, the anticipated water usage is a maximum of about 48,000 liters per day, or an average of 36,000 liters per day. And for full build out, the anticipated water usage is about 90,000 liters per day, or 67,000 liters per day on average. And these reports also confirmed that the planned water usage can be fully accommodated on on-site wells. None of the uses proposed will require a permit to take water for their operations. The dry industrial uses is reflected in the zoning bylaw, and dry industrial uses are generally considered to be uses that don't require large amounts of water for processing, manufacturing, or equipment washing. Water usage associated with this development will largely be for kitchens, sinks, showers, toilets, and fire protection. Thank you. Next slide, please. With respect to land use compatibility, a study was also prepared for this, and that looked at the compatibility of the development with adjacent residential lands. This assessment confirmed that the development will not result in any significant sources of air quality impacts. The uses are not considered to be significant sources of dust. None of the proposed uses are considered to have odor impacts, and none of the potential uses are considered to be a source of vibrations. Noise impacts have been evaluated, and mitigation measures were recommended to ensure compliance with noise limits. And as a point of clarification, there are no overnight operations proposed for building 1. With respect to the type of industrial uses proposed, class 3 industrial uses, which are heavy industrial uses, are not contemplated, and this was reflected in the zoning as well. The site also has sufficient size to accommodate the required minimum distance separation for industrial uses adjacent to residential, and that's 20 meters for class 1 uses and 70 meters for class 2 uses. Next slide, please. Following the zoning bylaw amendment and official plan amendment process, an industrial development of this nature is subject to site plan approval, and that's a detailed design process that includes preparation of additional studies and reports. As part of the site plan approval process, there will be additional stormwater management plan undertaken, and that will include the design of the stormwater management pond, the internal storm system, and any rooftop collection or infiltration facilities. There'll also be additional hydrological analysis, and that will include a water balance assessment, the testing of underlying aquifers with quality and quantity of groundwater, and a door-to-door well survey with local residents adjacent to the site to ensure that water quality is maintained. Other studies that would be anticipated would include, at a minimum, further noise analysis, detailed servicing and grading plans, site lighting, landscape plan, and a salt management plan. Next slide, please. In terms of next steps, as I mentioned, the project team will update reports in response to the technical questions and comments from the public, as well as the technical review through the circulation. And once the applications have, the comments have been addressed, County Council may consider the official plan amendment and Township Council may consider the zoning bylaw amendment. Next slide, please. Overall, the proposed development represents an excellent opportunity for immediate economic investment and employment opportunities in the township, and the owners are looking to relocate their operations to the site as soon as possible. They're ready to invest in the township through the construction of these buildings and new long-term jobs. And again, thank you for this opportunity tonight, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. I'll now ask Jeremy Tran to present for the township.
Very.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jeremy Tran. I'm with MPG Planning Solution. I'm the Township Planning Consultant for the applications. On the next slide, I'll walk through quickly the agenda for my presentation today. So I'll first talk about where we are in terms of the development process before discussing the proposed development, the location, as well as the applicable provincial and county planning policies. I'll quickly touch on the listing by design as well and how this relates to the subject lands before going into the details of the proposed official plan amendment application and the zoning bylaw amendment application. I'll also provide the high-level technical comments that the township, the county, and other agencies have been provided to the applicants so far. And lastly, I'll talk about what we can expect in terms of next step. On the next slide, please. So the applicant has submitted an application for a zoning bylaw amendment application to the Township of Portslade. They have also submitted an application for an official plan amendment to the County of Wellington. Both of these applications are currently under review at this point, and we are here today for the statutory public meeting for both of these applications. This is an opportunity for us to provide an overview of the applications to the member of the public. In terms of what we can expect at the next step, the county would make the decision on the official plan amendment applications, and we will prepare a recommendation report to the Township Council with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment applications. On the next slide, as we have seen from Emily's presentation before, the subject lands are bordering Hanlan's Highway 6, and the City of Guelph to the east, Highway 20 north to the west, and Concession 4 to the south. On the next slide, the proposed development is a large-scale prestige employment campus consisting of 3 industrial buildings with ancillary office and retail uses, a fitness center, a daycare center, a stormwater management pond, as well as a retained wetland. On the next slide, it is a rendering of the proposed development and what that may look like in the future. On the next slide, the subject lands are partly rural lands and partly employment areas in the Provincial Planning Statement 2024. And if we can go to the next slide, we could see on the left-hand side, that is a map of the County of Wellington official plan, and the subject lands are partially designated secondary agricultural, partially core greenlands, and partially rural employment area. On the right-hand side is a map of the Portslade zoning bylaw, and the subject lands include the following zones: agricultural, future development 3, and natural environment with an environmental protection overlay. On this next slide, so Prestige by Design is a study that has recently been completed by the Township of Prestige in partnership with the County of Wellington to identify lands to accommodate rural employment growth. And part of the subject lands were evaluated by Prestige by Design as one of the land options. It's known as option C. However, this option was not recommended to be redesignated to rural employment area. The county has prepared a draft official plan amendment, OPA number 133, to redesignate other land options, which include option D, G, and H to rural employment. On the next slide, the applicant had requested for an official plan amendment to redesignate a portion of the lands that are currently designated as secondary agricultural to rural employment. The core greenlands designation remains unchanged. And they also want to introduce a special policy area to permit daycare uses, in addition to other uses that would be permitted under the rural employment designation. On the next slide, for the zoning bylaw amendment application, the application has not requested for change to the natural environment zone. They have requested to rezone the agricultural and future development 3 into an industrial site-specific zone to permit the following uses: business or professional office, caterer's establishment, commercial fitness center, daycare, factory outlet as an accessory use, tri-industrial uses, restaurant as an accessory use, and warehouse. Class 3 industrial facilities would also be prohibited under the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. On the next slide, I'll provide some high-level technical comments that have been provided to date for the applications. In terms of transportation, the township consultant, Salvini Consulting, have provided that mitigation measure would be required to address the large traffic generations, as well as to accommodate truck traffic by the proposed development. Possible options include upgrading the existing road network or creating a new service road between concession 4 and the new interchange with Highway 6. There are a number of intersections that would experience high delay, high level of services that would also require improvement, and improvement details are required for those as well. In addition to other outstanding technical matters that include trip generation, trip assignment, and site distance assessment. Continuing on the next slide, for transportation, the county roads have also commented that the developer would have to make all the necessary improvement to any county road intersection that require improvement to accommodate future truck traffic. The MTO has commented that technical concern could be addressed during the detailed design stage, and the City of Guelph has concern related to overcapacity on Downey Road and the increasing traffic volume to one of the neighborhoods. And the City of Guelph is also strongly encourages the implementation of the new service road options. On the next slide, for land use compatibility and noise, the township consultant of acoustics has commented that the assessment would need to outline the recommended physical noise mitigation measure, as well as how operational controls will be implemented, monitored, and enforced. The report would also need to access all sensitive noise receptor within the impact extent. And there are other technical matters that need to address, including justification for class 2 categorizations and to account for worst case scenarios. On the next slide, for the topic of stormwater and engineering, the township consultant, GAI's consultant, have commented that additional assessment for stormwater quality would be required in addition to other technical matters. The township's hydrogeologist, Hardin Environmental, also commented that there's a need for an improved stormwater evaluation that would account for the site's topography and rely less on the wetland. Water balance was also highlighted as an issue in order to demonstrate that stormwater management does not impact the wetland. The township ecologist has also commented that impacts to the wetland hydrology by the proposed development would need to be determined as well. And lastly, the City of Guelph commented that a permit to take water will be required, and that would need to be reviewed in terms of impact on water taking on the city. And they also provided other technical comments. On the next slide, for hydrology and source water protection, the township hydrogeologist, Hardin Environmental, commented that there's a need to demonstrate that the stormwater management can retain groundwater recharge in accordance to policies, as well as some other technical comments that could be deferred to the detailed design stage. Similarly, Wellington source water protection defer the comments to be addressed at the detailed design stage. For the city of Guelph, they have commented that consideration need to be provided to protect the city's future water supply, as well as providing recommendation for future well construction and the requirement for full year of groundwater monitoring. On the next slide, for ecology, the township's colleges has commented that there are outstanding concerns related to bat maternity habitat assessment, as well as the need to demonstrate conformity to the county official plan policies. The GRCA has commented that technical comments could be addressed during the detailed design stage. Some of the other commenting agency, as you can see in the table, have commented they have no comments on the applications. On the next slide, PDAC has seen this application on November 12th and provided the following draft comments. PDAC requests for the applicant to provide more information about noise level being generated by the proposed development. Request for the applicant to provide enhanced due diligence on road safety and traffic analysis. Request for the applicant to provide clarification on how traffic will approach the site and a possible trigger for turning lanes. PDAC also requests for more clarification on stormwater management, groundwater, and wetland protection concern. And lastly, PDAC requests why this property is being considered and not the post lane by design lane. And on the next slide, I'll provide a quick summary of the public comments that we have received to date on the applications. So we have received a number of public comments, written submission to the township, and the public comments could be summarized in the following topics. The first one is the application relationship with the post by design employment land study. The second issue that was highlighted was land use compatibility with the surrounding residential uses, as well as transportation concern. The next topic is hydrogeology and concern related to groundwater demand and impacts related to wastewater filtration capacity. And there's ecology related concern that have to do with the provincially significant wetlands and species at risk present on the subject lands. And lastly, there are financial implication concern related to any associated costs that would be required to upgrade the roads to accommodate for the proposed development. On the next slide, in terms of what we can expect in terms of next step, the application are currently under review by both the township and the county, as well as other commenting agencies. Comments have been provided to the applicant, and there will be more comments provided to the applicant. And as Emily has mentioned, they will be responding to the comments and resubmit to the township and the county in a future date. And we would also prepare a recommendation report to the council at a later date to make a recommendation with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment applications. I come to the end of my presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll invite Justin for the movement. Thanks.
Hit the slides. Perfect. Hate to have my back to everybody here. Okay, good evening, Mayor, councilors, township staff, and the Estelle team and our fellow residents. My name is Justin, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Help Protect Coast Lynch, a community group made up of residents that are in the proximity of the proposed Estelle development. We're here tonight to respectfully ask council to reject this proposed zoning bylaw and official plan amendment to the site. The proposal is not aligned with the county's official plan or the Post Lynch by Design study, both of which were developed through planning and extensive community input to guide where industrial growth should occur. Next slide. You can hear me all right? Yeah. Okay. So our community, this is, you can go to the next slide. So just to give you a little bit of background, our community first learned about this proposal in December 2022. So it's been a long 3 years when we received a letter in the mail outlining the developer's plan to build the global headquarters of both Danby and Upper Canada Products on farmland at the concession of 4 and Side Road 20 North. At that time, Estel's team requested the Community Infrastructure and Housing Accelerator, I call it the CHIA order, to the township to fast track rezoning from agriculture to industrial use and allowing the province, the provincial government to override the official plan and zoning bylaws. Following that notice, residents in the immediate area came together very quickly. Within 6 days, we collected 125 signatures from adults living west of the Hanlon, so where we're talking, and within 3 kilometers of the development, all opposed to the development, including 100% of the residents on Side Road 20 North. We also gathered around 100 email contacts from residents who continue to follow this closely and remain engaged today as part of our Help Protect Post Lynch community group. In the following council meeting in February 2023, Estel's team detailed that they do not want to build somewhere where they were not welcome, and indicated that they would receive permission from the MTO to gain access off the Hanlon Expressway for accessing their development. We also learned that the Estel team had yet to purchase the property. In the same meeting, council unanimously voted in favor of the CHIA order, so of that Community Infrastructure and Housing Accelerator order. So they voted against it, a decision that we strongly supported because it protected the township's role in planning and community consultation. So despite the community's concerns, Estel's team purchased the property for nearly 19 million in early 2023 and were unable to gain access off the Hanlon Expressway due to some safety concerns from the MTO. So next slide. So, yeah, sorry. Yeah, the next slide. That's why I brought my wife. Thank you. After significant notification throughout 2022, in late 2023, the Township of Wellington County began a planning study to identify 30 hectares of added rural employment lands to meet growth needs to 2051 and beyond. The study was referred to Post Lynch by Design, and this was a transparent, well-run, and inclusive study that looked at multiple factors, including industrial areas, road infrastructure, rural housing, MDS, and protection of environmental features. Early on into this study, we learned from county planners that Estel's lands were added to the study as per his team's request. That study concluded this year and identified 3 sites that were suitable for employment lands, as Jeremy indicated, sites D, G, and H. So D, we've got it south of the 401 there. It's kind of hard to see, but it's that pink area south of the 401. And G and H, that's 34. That's how a lot of us got here probably tonight. And so on the north and south side of Highway 34 near the new mid-block of Concession 7. So these new lands comprised a total net area of 140 hectares. So they needed 30 hectares and they got 140 hectares, which was good. These new lands would meet the needs of 2051 and beyond, and that adding other lands, large industrial parcels such as those from the Estel team would create unnecessary strain on community infrastructure, in particular road infrastructure, farmland, and the environment. In addition, language in the official plan was added to the official plan that no employment generated traffic will utilize Side Road 20 North, and no driveway accesses for employment uses shall be permitted to use Side Road 20 North. something that the current Estilts team application completely ignores. Council has already acted on these recommendations by including them in a draft official plan amendment. This is exactly how good planning is meant to work: a comprehensive study, a public process, and a clear plan for growth. So why are we considering adding more industrial land with this proposal, especially land that was deemed unsuitable? Okay, we can go to the next slide. And then we'll go to the next one. So the Estill team proposal directly conflicts with both the Wellington County official plan and the Puslinch by Design study. So under the official plan, the Puslinch industrial policy, so I brought the official plan. If anybody wants to read it tonight, it's a good read. So under the Puslinch industrial policies, details that the area west of the Hanlon, so that's this area that we're considering, will only be considered for development should no other suitable sites be available. It indicates that the Highway 401 and Brock Road corridor is developed first, followed by the eastern side of the Hanlon, then the western side of the Hanlon. There has been no development on the eastern side of the Hanlon, and now we've added an additional 140 hectares of lands deemed suitable for development. Under the official plan, the proposed site is not supported by the local roadways policy, with a combined over 2,000 daily vehicle and truck trips expected on Side Road 20, Concession 4, and surrounding roads and intersections. Just within the application, it says that there's 1,000 daily trips going to this Estill development every day. So I doubled it. That's how 1,000 there, 1,000 back. These roads were never designed to handle that volume or weight of industrial traffic. Under the servicing growth policy of the official plan, the proposed development is not serviced by municipal water and wastewater systems, nor is anywhere else in Puslinch. The Estills team's development application references the use of approximately 90,000 liters of groundwater use and wastewater use per day, totals that require special permits from the ministry due to their considerable volume. This is incompatible with and inconsistent with the official plan requirement of low intensity uses in the rural system. Under the water resources policy of the official plan, ground and surface water need to be protected. How will a septic bed, and you can see there in the middle of the picture is our septic bed, near the size of a football field, receiving an Olympic-sized swimming pool of sewage every 27 days, not going to impact a provincially significant wetland located directly adjacent. As you can see, it's right in the zone of dilution for this septic bed. And how is that going to impact our downstream private wells that are directly downstream of this dilution bed as well? Next slide. Next slide. Roughly 4 weeks ago, our community group Help Protect Puslinch hosted a community information open house to help the entire township learn about Puslinch by Design. And I'm sure many of you that are here tonight were there, and the importance of responsible growth. Through this process, we have collected over 300 signatures and addresses, and I left it under my chair, of residents supporting the rejection of this proposal. One of the major concerns from the community is that this proposal ignores the lands already designated for industrial development. Approving it would go against the township's official plan and reward the developer for avoiding the designated lands simply because they cost more. We all want to see Puslinch prosper, but prosperity should come with responsible strategic development, not by sacrificing farmland or rural character for convenience or cost savings. And there's a small typo on that slide, but Estill's team paid $299,800 per acre versus the Puslinch industrial average price per acre, and this is based on the Puslinch by Design study, of $2.12 million per acre. Is this the approach we want to encourage in our community? Next slide. are asked. We're asking council to reject the proposed zoning bylaw and official plan amendment on Side Road 20 North. We want to uphold the principles of the official plan and the Puslinch by Design study, which already has identified sufficient employment lands to meet township needs through 2051 and beyond, and deemed the Estill lands unsuitable. And number 3, support the integrity of the planning process by directing future industrial development into those compatible locations. I just have one slide left. In 2023, this council demonstrated strong leadership by rejecting the Community Infrastructure and Housing Accelerator Order to protect local decision-making. We're asking council to again show that same leadership and speak for the community by rejecting this zoning amendment, ensuring that Puslinch's future growth remains planned, sustainable, and directed where it is suitable. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. I'll invite Christina Thompson to the microphone.
A little shorter. Can you guys hear me? Yes. Okay. I do have a slide presentation for the demo. It'll be posted on the Okay. Well, in the meantime, I'm Christina Thompson, and I live at 4632 Side Road 20 North, directly across from the proposed site. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to express my opposition to it and to ask that you vote against the bylaw change and the official plan amendments that would allow this to go through. So I'm here to give you a perspective from someone who lives locally. It's one thing to look at this on a map, but it's entirely different to see it firsthand. I'm going to show you some images, and I ask that you not just look, but truly see the area for what it is and think about what is actually being proposed here. They have shown us what they want to build, and I want to show you what they will destroy in the process. I'm not just concerned for our area, I'm concerned for all of Puslinch. If we allow this bylaw change, it opens the door to other developers to do the same, which is exactly what we don't want. We established that in the Puslinch by Design study. We don't want piecemeal industry scattered throughout the county. We want to direct development to the lands already designated industrial or the ones identified in the study. Sorry. And you can go to the next slide too. This is slide row 20. So in my opinion, our area is a great example of what Puslinch is and represents. Farmland. Go to the next slide. Quiet country roads. You can go to the next slide, please. Open spaces with clean, fresh air. Next slide, please. And beautiful rural landscapes. These simply cannot be replaced or reconstructed. Next slide, please. These are some of the many reasons why we live here. We enjoy the rural active lifestyle and we value the nature and serenity of being here. Many of us walk these roads every day with our dogs or with our kids. A development like this, of this size and this scale, would impede on that lifestyle and it would dramatically change the fabric of our community. Next slide, please. So the way I see it, this property is landlocked by the Hanlon Expressway, the mid-block, and then agriculture and residential. It's primarily surrounded by homes. It doesn't make sense to have it here. There are lands already designated for it, as I know we have established, and that is where they should be built. There isn't really any other farmland that would extend the industrial development. Everything is being directed east of the Hanlon and southeast towards the 401, and that's where this should go. Next slide, please. One of my main concerns is road traffic and safety. with over 1,500 vehicle trips to and from during peak hours. That's just peak hours when we are commuting to and from school and to and from work. That will just be extremely dangerous. Can you imagine? I travel Downey Road every day to take my son to Courtright Hills, and I sometimes travel it multiple times a day, and it is already at capacity, I can tell you that. And when my son rode the bus, it was delayed every day, well, maybe 2 to 3 days a week, 10 to 20 minutes. And I can only imagine the delays on the bus that this would make happen. They say they want to expand the roads and improve the road system. But what I see is the long-term costs of maintaining those roads. And who will that fall on? That will fall on the taxpayer. Our property values will go down because we live next to an industrial development, and our property taxes will go up. And I don't know if anyone has thought about this with the proposed service road, but if it's connecting from the mid-block to concession 4, other people will use that road, not just the people who work there. People will figure it out and use that as a way to cut through over to Cambridge and Kitchener. Next slide, please. Groundwater is another major concern, of course. Groundwater and contamination. So it will destroy the sensitive wetland, in my opinion. They were overusing it as a filter for groundwater. I read in the reviews from some of the township's experts that they haven't studied quality and quantity of water. And that seems to be something that they think should happen before this decision, not after. They haven't come knocking on our door to do a door-to-door well test. And the city of Guelph did a pumping test in July and August of this year, and we had our well monitored, and our well dropped significantly during that time. So I can also provide that report to you if you want. So I can only imagine what would happen if we have the development and the city drawing on the same water resource at the same time. I think it's realistic that our wells would run dry. Next slide, please. Pollution is another big concern of ours. The applicant mentioned dust from the manufacturing process. Now, my husband has sensitive lung issues, and lung cancer runs in his family, so he's at risk for that. And I have allergies to dust and mold. So any of the potential air pollutants really concern me. Plus, no one has mentioned any of the greenhouse gas emissions from all the truck transportation that's going to go by my house every day. The sound, the noise, think about it. Trucks moving in and out each day, coupling, decoupling, idling, reversing, and braking, forklifts moving product around. They said that they're not going to have outdoor operations and they're not going to have overnight operations, but in their submission, in the noise assessment, they looked at overnight operations. So why did they include that if they're not going to do it? I'm concerned about light. Bright industrial lights are continuous and far-reaching from parking lots to buildings, and they never get shut off. There will be no reprieve from the light produced from this site. And then, of course, we've already mentioned groundwater contamination. And there's pollutants from truck traffic that go into the ground. So, next slide, please. These are images from the industrial park just north, over on north of Forestdale Road. This is what Prestige Industrial looks like. Do you think this is compatible with rural land use? I don't. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to show you exactly where this development will go. So this is concession 4. It's about a 500-meter stretch. And this is where they want to put 3 entrances. So 1,500 trips per day going in and out of these 3 entrances. Next slide, please. This is it from the other side. And next slide, please. And there is a family home directly in the middle of this. How would you like to live there? Next slide, please. This is Side Road 20 north facing south. So this connects 34 up to the intersection. And this is the route that most people would take going from the mid-block or coming up from 34. There are 16 family homes in this 2-kilometer distance. Next slide, please. This is concession 4, facing west. So this is the route most traffic would take from Cambridge and Kitchener-Waterloo to reach the site. And they would pass 18 family homes over just 2 kilometers. Concession 4 goes much further. And this is also where the donkey sanctuary is located. Next slide, please. So Sidewalk 20 facing north. This is the site with the most frontage, it's 1 kilometer. And this is where there are 9 family homes. Next slide, please. These are the addresses that live there, and mine is one of them. Go to the next slide. This is my home. It's not very far off the road, as you can see. Next slide, please. And this is the view from my front yard. So imagine buildings the size of 2 Stone Road malls stacked on one on top of the other, right there. That would be my view. Is that compatible with rural life and rural landscape?
No.
Next slide. This is the corner of Side Road 20 and Forestdale Road. So this is directly across from where they want to put the Side Road 20 entrance, which, as Justin pointed out, shouldn't be allowed. Next slide, please. So I just want to ask you again, if you really feel that this is the right place for a massive industrial development, and I ask you to reject these changes and direct development towards the lands already designated for the development or for future. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. I'll invite David Patty up.
Should you do a test? Can everybody hear me all right? Good, thank you. I'll work for this first slide. My challenge is going to be to try and make everybody understand.
David, try not to turn to the audience. Speak to be a little closer, like, please.
So my,
Closer.
is that okay? I'm David Patey. I'm here representing the Donkey Sanctuary of Canada. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors, for having me. My challenge is to try and get across what a unique place the Donkey Sanctuary is and how this would affect it. I won't turn. The Donkey Sanctuary of Canada was founded in 1992 by my wife, Sandra. And it was founded in a pretty unique place. And it has been very successful. The uniqueness is this sort of feeling. Next slide, please. Is uniquely situated in a rural environment close to Guelph, near the 401 and Highway 6. These factors have been key to our success because they've enabled us to attract not only visitors, but student groups from the local community, and to partner with others in a multitude of projects. We do not receive any government help, no funding whatsoever, and rely on donations to do our work. Our donor base has now reached 8,000 people. Before COVID, we reached a total of 17,000 visitors a year. And our visitors come from all over, but principally from about an hour away. We have 20 full-time employees and part-time. We have over 100 volunteers helping us. Our volunteers and staff help us look after 115 donkeys, mules, and hinnies. We also have 80 donkeys across Ontario in host farms. We have rescued from across Canada and as far south as North Carolina over 300 donkeys. The sanctuary tries to maintain the absolute highest quality of care for our animals. And we were recognized for this when we won the Outstanding Sanctuary of the Year in 2023. And this was awarded by the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries. Next slide, please. It's a little hard to get the next one across. We had to make a decision not too many years ago to decide on a $3 million expansion. The board looked at everything and they thought, and I think rightly so, that the township and the county were supporting farm life and the type of rural community we require. And the board decided to spend the $3 million. The two buildings, the two numbers on the side, which are hard to see, 6 and 7, that's our new training center. So that when new donkeys come in, we're able to take even feral donkeys and train them. And that's how we find the donkeys for our host farms. On the left, where you can see 3, is our donkey house. And we doubled the size of that barn for our donkeys. If we were making the decision today, however, I'd have to say we'd be waiting to see what happens because we couldn't do it in face of what we're now looking at as our next door neighbors. Double the size of the the Stone Road Mall. It's massive and it would have a big impact on us. Our site is 200 acres. It has 16 acres of wetland. So the map on the left shows you the trails and some of the features of our property. We have 2 ponds, 2 wetlands, lots of forest, 100 acres of arable land. And all of this has allowed us to do a great many things that probably not many people know about. Our location is key. So what's it allow us to do? First of all, we're working with the University of Toronto on a Phragmites issue. Phragmites is a massive concern for both the county and the township. With U of T, we're doing a study on our marsh. We are releasing moss. The moss and are killing off the Phragmites. And I hope within the next 2 to 3 years to be able to go to the township. I've been there before, no money. I've been to the county, no money. The moth program that the Donkey Sanctuary is helping U of T with is something that can help solve this problem at almost no cost. The second thing we're doing is working with the Grand River Conservation Authority. We have planted 5,000 trees with them. We have taken some of our forest areas and created corridors to join them up for the wildlife. We're also working with them on the buckthorn issue. Buckthorn is the second most invasive thing that I've been dealing with in the township. How are we doing that? We're planting trees and trying to get dense areas around forests, and we're doing that with them and hope to come up with a solution in the near future. We're doing frog studies, or have done, with the University of Waterloo. We do turtle studies and preserve eggs or a turtle assistance with rare in Blair. With the University of Guelph, which is so near us and so valuable, we work with OBC, Guelph Equine, Science and Ecology. They're coming in and looking and studying our ponds. And all kinds of things are happening between us. There's lots of synergy. We've just now started putting beehives on the property. We're creating pollinator gardens to help them thrive. This is so important. Anybody in the farming world knows how important bees are and what's happening. We have a multitude of bird projects. With a local birder in Pushlynch, we've put in many bluebird houses, and now have seen for the first time a rise in their number. We help support wood ducks. We do all kinds of work with barn swallows, and we're protecting the bats. Probably one of the most important things we've done lately is to launch our new virtual learning center. The first video, Donkey Care Essentials, was released this week. And on Monday night, CTV did a big piece on it. And we were really, really happy with what they had to say. We plan to release 4 more videos over the next 12 months. Our videos are uniquely Canadian and will have a profound influence on how people treat and care for donkeys throughout North America. Next slide, please. So our visitors are the key to our success. They represent our current and our future donors. If a development as large as you see or have seen tonight takes place where it's indicated, the Donkey Sanctuary is the white space, 200 acres. You can see how close it is. It's hard to imagine the impact that it could have, but let me try. We're opposed to this plan, first of all, because of the effect on farmland. There will be about 400 acres in the area south if we do this service road that's going to be affected. The 400 acres gets affected, that has a major effect on the Donkey Sanctuary. And I believe that if a service road is done, and it's the only way this thing can really go forward, because none of the other roads could support the trucks. We all know we have half load limits in the spring, so how are these trucks going to even get out of there? So they have to have a service road. As soon as the service road goes in, the land values along that service road will change dramatically. No farmer could ever buy that property and it'll get developed. There's no question. The Donkey Sanctuary has 100 acres of arable land. We rent 40. We desperately need 200 to be sustainable. We're like a lot of other farms in our area. We need some of that land. We couldn't afford it. Look at the prices they're paying. Our plan is have Estill rent the land to us when this doesn't go through. We think that the Estill Innovation Center should be the right thing, but in the wrong place. So it should be relocated to one of the areas recommended by Bushlands by Design. The Donkey Sanctuary is very involved in that process. Thought it was exceptionally well done. We, as the taxpayers, paid for it. We really should respect it. They got it right. They totally emphasized the effect on farmland. If this was developed in this area, it's so easy to see, and we're an example. We will be dramatically affected. So we think that they should follow the example of the cooperatives. Cooperatives Insurance moved their head office. Where did they go? They went to the Anlin Business Park. Why is it so good? Well, they have public transportation. I've heard public transportation to here, I don't see it. They talk about bicycling there. I cycle these roads and you'd be scared stiff to be on it with the type of traffic they're talking about on our narrow roads. Cooperatives went where they have the water supply from the city. They have sewage. The sewage here is a huge concern for us. The aquifer in this area is so important to us. That sewage and stormwater system, I just don't get. But cooperatives got it right. They're in city sewers. They have a storm system that absolutely supports their large parking lot. So we recently were working with cooperators. Their employees came over and they did a work day with us just last month. And they had it right, I thought. So we were proud to be working with them, but if a group came in under circumstances like this, I could not ever see us working with an ESCO group that came in when nobody wanted them. So we asked the council and the county, please act responsibly and support and continue, excuse me, to continue to help preserve our farming and rural community by turning this application down. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, David. We'll now transition to where we take questions or comments from the audience in attendance in person. So if you have a question or comment, just approach the microphone, please. You'll need to state your name and address.
Yeah, my name is Brian Crawley. I live at 6890 Concession 4, which if you to narrow that down, it's right at the northeast intersection of the Downey Road and Concession 4. So I have 2 points here. Number one is the water. My brother owns a house and farm up on Forestdale Road, next road north of Concession 4. And the city of Guelph put in a 12-inch well on my former parents' farm just across the road from him. They turned it on this summer, I guess it was. I'm not exactly sure, but anyways, it drained his well. So I'm just thinking, with the interconnection of all these water sources, if this is just the start, how the heck is the water going to be supplied for this proposal? I don't. And there was the previous lady said that her well went right down. I don't have that issue because we have so many different water threads through the township. And so we had approximately 450 acres that we farmed. My operation was a chicken farm right on the corner. But at any rate, my second point would be the traffic. In the last 3 years, we've had 3 accidents with cars upturned on their roof on my front lawn, which faces the Downey Road. And there was another one last year where there were no mortalities there, but it's just waiting for that. The very fact that these supposed 600 plus cars and trucks in the morning and 800, I don't know where those extra 200 come from. But at any rate, it's almost impossible now as we come out of our driveway onto Concession 4, aiming for the Downey Road to go either north or south to Guelph or Cambridge, that you have to wait, and there's so many people going 120 kilometers an hour plus and this is part of, I've asked the township, I've asked the county, I've asked the OPP, they've got hatched lines right at that intersection. Now they all say, well, hatched lines are not written in stone. There should be, the solid lines are not written in stone. That's what I request. People come over from the hill on the Downey Road from Guelph, they see a straight line and they hit it. And I'm sure they're doing at least 120 because I've turned my tractors onto Concession 4 and almost been hit twice. In fact, once I thought it was all over. But, and the fellow, I was kind of hoping that he'd go into the swamp, but he hit the brakes, and I'm sure he slowly went down the Concession 4 to escape. My point is, those trucks coming in right beside my house. And I know from my experience, I ran a feed truck from Hamilton to my place. And my wife says you could hear me coming from 34 gearing up and gearing down to come to my place on concession 4. The other one was a huge manure truck, 4,000 gallons, which took over 150 visits up and down the Downey Road in the spring and in the fall. My son called that truck Thunder. It was 300 horsepower, 13-speed truck that was, and I know from the noise of that thing gearing up and gearing down and using the brakes. I didn't have a Jake brake on it or an engine brake, but the number of trucks coming through there, it's ludicrous. The noise right through our windows into our house. And as previously mentioned, you know, the gas is coming from all these vehicles is going to be, it's so inappropriate. I can't believe it. So anyways, that's my opposition on many fronts. And of course, the other one would be, of course, as mentioned, the security of the roads. The roads are not built for this kind of traffic. Who's going to come up with the money? Probably us. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for the questions. Does the applicant want to take an opportunity to try to address the water concerns or any of the traffic concerns?
Thank you. First of all, we appreciate the comments that are being shared tonight, and we're here tonight to listen to the comments. We've heard a number of comments and presentations, and I think we'll get a copy of the presentations from the township in order to review those in more detail. So thanks for those who made the presentations, and we'll respond to those as part of a larger resubmission that we will need to make to the township in response to not only the public comments, but also agency comments. With regard to a couple of the matters, the water quantity and quality, we have submitted reports, and the township's peer review consultant has provided comments with regard to those reports and timing for further detailed reports. That also included a water supply analysis report. Information that we received with regard to the City of Guelph testing, and we don't know the scale of that, but that's something we can get some additional information on and maybe work with the township to get some information on that. And the on-site well information did look at MOE information and also wells drilled on the site. So that was part of the water supply analysis, and the conclusions and recommendations of that were part of the report that was submitted and concluded that the wells on site could produce the water for the site in combination with some storage on site. And gave consideration to information that was collected through the water well records. So that, I guess, on the water and on the transportation, there's been a lot of work done. We're on the traffic impact study. We're continuing to have discussions with the township and county and MTO on the road network and the potential road network, and if there's potential to phase development and deal with road improvements and potential new roads. And that's something that we'll continue to explore with the township as a response to the comments and as an opportunity to address the road network concerns.
Oh, Hello, I would just like to add, my name is Francine Martin. I'm staff and a volunteer at the Donkey Sanctuary of Canada. And I just want to add to what David has talked about. The Donkey Sanctuary supports all their donkeys, hennies, and some cats that we have. But it also supports a lot of wildlife. So we have a lot of migrating birds that use our property. And some of them are on the decline, like insectivores, like the bobolinks. We have 4 different kinds of species of sparrows, swallows. We also have meadowlarks. We also have counted on our bird counts grasshopper sparrows that are pretty rare that use our grasslands for nesting. So all the pollution, the traffic will all affect these birds. And also we have other wildlife that use the property, and we also have a large reptile and amphibian population. And a lot of these animals cross roads, and all the roads that are mentioned, there's a lot of turtles that I actually have to stop to rescue, which is easy to do when the traffic is not all that busy. So there will be an increase in mortality in a lot of our wildlife, and that is also their home. So that should be taken in consideration as well. So I just wanted to sort of add that it also affects a lot of our wildlife that call this area their home.
I get clarification on the roads, so I'll ask one specific question. If you phase this in and there's no service road, what are the trucks gonna do in the half load season? Are the trucks gonna be on those roads in phase 1? And what road? Only concession 4?
Thanks for that question. Phase 1 would have the access on Concession Road 4 only. No access would be on Side Road 20 for the first phase, and truck traffic would be year round. In terms of intersections improvements, that'd be for Stell and Downey, Concession Road 4 and Downey, Concession Road 4 and Side Road 20, and Wellington Road 34 and Side Road 20, and those intersection improvements would be related to pavement and turning radius.
So if you take into account on Forester Road that it's a chip road, trucks can't use that.
Yes, so pavement improvements would be considered. And we are working with the township in the review of our transportation impact study to work through some of those details.
City of Guelph owns more stuff.
Yeah, the
Yes,
city of Guelph
yeah.
was the road not pushing.
And they don't have the capacity or the money to do all that. And then you gotta deal with all the residents there. That's a whole new. can of worms.
Sir, appreciate that. If you want to engage, come up with my phone too.
So you heard Brian Crawley and what happens at concession 4 and Downey Road. That is the most dangerous intersection in our area. Are your trucks turning off of there? That's a wetland and you cannot expand the intersection to my knowledge. Is that the plan? That your trucks are going out concession 4 and trying to turn on the Downey Road at a busy time? I can't see it.
And that's a question we can take back to our team through the review. And
But you're saying in phase 1, the trucks have to use concession 4. It can't be used in April and May. And they cannot turn at that road. You're telling me 2 semi-truck trailers could be one approaching one way and one the other and turn at that intersection? It's not possible.
And sorry, just to be clear, the intersection improvements for those roads include pavement and turning radius. And that's something that would be part of the first phase.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't think you can do it at 4 and Downey.
Yeah, my name is Gary Mason. I live at 4668 Side Road 20 North. I own the corner of Forestell and Side Road 20. I recently received a plan indicating the improvements they're going to make on that. And all that's going to do is increase the speed of traffic because they're going to make it a nice big radius to go around that corner. The cars are gonna go faster. And then saying that the tractor trailers are not gonna be using that road is wrong, because that's the only reason you need to change that. Like they're not going to need to change it. Right now, it keeps the people have to slow down to make that corner, but if that big radius is in there, they'll be going at full speed. Nobody will slow down whatsoever. Now, the other problem I have is with the development in the city, it drained my pond. I no longer have water in my pond. If we get another development across the road from me, we're going to drain my well. That'll be the next thing, because it's the property I have is an older property. So it's not I don't know exactly how deep my well is. But it's not a new property. So it's not like one of these new houses. They've gone into the aquifer and gone well below it. So I'm just afraid that the water table is changing. As soon as they start building sewers, they are in the water table. And so they end up using clear stone or whatever in order for bedding, because they can't use granular type materials because they can't dewater it. I worked construction for 48 years. I've done all this stuff. And it just keeps, the water runs constantly. Another for instance is right now, the water's where the MTO built that new side road theirs. That water's draining constantly. So it's coming out of our aquifer. It may not drop our table now, but over time, it's got to be coming from somewhere. It doesn't stop running, even in the middle of this hot and dry summer we had. So I'm really concerned with water, concerned with the pollution. The light, my animals probably won't like that amount of light right in across the road from. I don't know what that's going to do to them. And just the quality of life is going to change 100%. Thank you.
My name is Joe Jeremiah. My dad, Mario, bought the farmland on Side Road 20, concession 4, back in '67. And any responsible commercial development absolutely needs commercial sewage and commercial water. We got to remember, when I was a kid, that was a gravel mine on that property. It sourced the gravel for the Hanlon Expressway. We've already dropped 50 feet of land because of the gravel extracted there. And now we're proposing to put septic beds and water wells. When I'm worried about one house, making sure that our septic bank beds don't leak and are properly supported to standards, I can't see how you can actually execute on a responsible development. I'm pro-development, but this is not the right recipe. And just want me to go back and take a look at how that property was developed, how much gravel was extracted to build the Hanlon Expressway, which has lowered the gravel bed, and you're going to throw septic on top of that. I think it's a recipe for disaster, not just for the people who live there, but for the commercial properties that are going up there. I don't think it's sustainable. So that's my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ben Thompson, 4632 Side Road 20. I just want to speak about the water feasibility study and that they would have to do an actual physical test of the amount of water they're actually going to draw out daily in conjunction with Guelph's South Well. And they need to do a proper well test, an actual physical draw from both of these wells to confirm there is actually enough water and that nobody's well will dry up. That has to be done before anything can be approved. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Paul Bulachuk, 4501 Side Road 20 North. First, I'd like to ask for clarification. I think there was some indication of about a 90,000 liter use per day. Was that correct?
That's correct for full build out.
Perfect. Glad you said that. Now, approximately how many people would be there for the entire day? I think there was about 600 people traveling in the morning, about 1,400 in the day, or in the evening, so about 800 all day long.
The number of employees, I don't have that information.
Approximately, let's go with 800, just to round up. Or round kind of down. So according to Statistics Canada in 2021, the average use per day per person was 187 liters for residential use. If we go with 800 people on site, we're looking at 160,000 liters a day.
I'm Michael Collins. I live at 6949 Forest Hill Road. So I'm directly across from the Gulf Business Park, and I have 3 comments to make. One, if you go back and watch their where Dave and Jim were in front of council 2022 December. Jim made the comment that there's no available land around this area for their development. There's currently 110 acres in the Gulf Business Park that's not being utilized. And adjacent to that, just west of that, is another 50 acres that's currently for sale. And that could easily accommodate what they're looking to do. I understand the land value is much more, but that's my first point. My second point is the end of the presentation, they talked about the trees that are along the west side of this development. If you go back 10 years, the township of Post Lynch had a tender for planting trees along Brock Road, right in front of where I currently work, North America Construction. They were like 50 mil caliper trees. In those 10 years, there's not a lot of coverage. So them saying that you're going to, be accommodating with these trees along the west side is not going to do a whole lot. And then my third point is, again, because I live at 6949 Forest Hill Road, directly across from the business park. I emailed you guys pictures Tuesday from my front porch and from my kids' bedrooms where you can see the industrial lights shining right into it. So you're not going to be able to burn or plant trees to block out this noise or light that's going to be produced by this development. So I'll go.
Where? Great, thank you. Thanks, Justin. I've just revamped what I was going to say. I think we've had people make a lot of the points I wanted to make, and they've made them very well. But I do have 2 quotes that I brought with me. I think they're pertinent, and I'd like to read them. The first quote that I'm going to give is from the National Post, September 6th of this year. Karen Chappell, director of the University of the Toronto School of Cities, stated, quote, placing 2 incompatible land uses next to each other is a failure in planning, unquote. I think that's pretty powerful. I'm going to say it again. Placing 2 incompatible land uses next to each other is a failure in planning. And I thought, yeah, but we're okay because fortunately Post Lynch does have a good plan. It's a good one. And I do want to say that during the planning stage and during all of this, 3 years of it, I think that our mayor and council have been wonderful in that, yeah. I just feel like we need to say a proper thank you because we have been encouraged to participate. We were made to feel so welcome, and it became almost like a team effort working together, and we were listened to, treated with respect. And I think our input was valued. We really appreciate that. So we know we have a good plan. But there are 2 words that I was going to focus on tonight. One is compatibility. I think that word is hugely important. And the other word is buffer. Now, I'm not going to go into what I had planned to say, but we do know that compatibility is stressed whenever there is a development, including this one. The intent is for it to be compatible with the surrounding area. And it's an insult to our intelligence to say that this build can be compatible with what's already there. And as Michael pointed out, a few canopy trees, no. The other word is buffer. And I just want to say that the word buffer is used a lot in these studies and reports. Buffers, can we clarify something right now? Placing a buffer around this build or any massive industrial build, it's not going to magically make that build compatible with what's in the area. The minute you put a development like that up next to greenlands and farmlands and country homes, the minute you do that, everything there and everyone there is living inside that industrial bubble. We've got to be honest about that. So buffers are a joke, I'm sorry. And I would like to read the second quote. I think it backs that up. This quote is from About and Associates. It's in the recent second submission comments, it was circulated not that long ago. And here's the quote. Concerns related to surface water flows and infiltration require consideration as a potential impact to the wetland as a result of the proposed development. The implementation of a buffer does not address this impact, unquote. And they have many concerns about an Associates, environmental concerns, wetland, water, on and on. But for them to say that the buffer will not address the impact, I thought, well, we already know that. We know that buffers don't address any impact. They don't work. But I'm going to ask you to do something. When you hear the word buffer going forward, as we work through this, when you hear that word buffer, think of it as like putting lipstick on a pig. Thank you.
Somebody once told me the trees they planted in Morrison was putting lipstick on the pig. I was a little offended by that activity.
Barb Crawley, 6890 concession 4. How could anyone imagine looking at concession 4, the narrow, hilly path that it is, with swamps on both sides, the north and the south? What are you going to do to that road to make it compatible with all that traffic? It's mind-boggling to even think of it. You would be probably cutting into properties on all sides of the road. It's nowhere near even a secondary highway. And how much intense traffic would there be on a secondary highway in that short of a space? It's unimaginable. The people living on that road would be literally imprisoned. Someone made the comment, how do you get out of your driveway? Well, that's a good question. It's not meant for that heavy duty traffic, heavy duty trucks, because they can be heard. I have heard them. That's my comment for today. Thank you.
Jim Christie, 4652 Side Road 20 North. I was just gonna talk about putting this into perspective. Twice the size of Stone Road Mall. We're all familiar with Stone Road Mall. You can't dump something like that in a rural setting and make it work. I've been retired several years now, but I was an Ontario provincial police officer. And I know what the roads are like. There's been fatals at Concession 4 and Side Road 35. And I've clocked them at over 160 going down there. You come over that hill and you have a 3 or 4 seconds, anybody coming out of Concession 4. And there's been a couple of fatals there that I know of many years ago, but apparently there's been a few more lately. Same with Forrestal. And this setting, the traffic's gonna come from the city the easiest way. They'll come down Forrestal, Side Road 20, or Concession 4. There's more than 100 residents on there. We're a nice community. And this is just unacceptable for us. And plus, over the 50 years we've lived there, we're on our 3rd well. Water is an issue. Thank you very much.
So we do have some people attending online, so I'm just patiently waiting and giving the room to hear the opportunity first, and then I'll ask staff to query those people.
Good evening, Lisa Ross, 101 Aberfoyle Mill, Crescent, I'm Meadows of Aberfoyle. It's unclear to me, the permit to take water. I saw the proposal did not include a permit to take water, and yet I'm seeing that the city of Guelph is insisting that it is required. That seems a significant conflict. Water, as we keep talking about, is a critical component of our area. We don't have protection, we don't have transparency, we don't have monitoring. We have a significant risk. And why would we take that as a community? So could you perhaps, Mayor, could you talk to what is who makes that decision? Because it impacts our community, it impacts city of Guelph. What's the process for that? We have a conflict.
So I'm not intending to be an advocate for the applicant. What I'm hearing from them is that a permit to take water is not necessary, yet their total cumulative take would be 90,000 liters on the full build out. And you should have explained this better to the public. I've heard it several times, and now I have to do it for you, so I'm quite disappointed. So what I'm hearing is that each phase will drill its own well and be less than 50,000, but the cumulative total will be 90. Thus, they can not require a permit to take water by doing multiple wells. And the cumulative effect, we had this discussion at council today in regards to water taking, and I have to go down for a long day. So that's the answer they should have been telling you, is that phase 1 will go drill a well, be under 50,000, phase 2, phase 3, and going forward. And you see the comments from the city of Guelph requesting a permit to take water. I don't believe the city of Guelph has the authority to demand a permit to take water. The MECP does. However, if an applicant, especially a business-oriented applicant, were to, if someone were to request a business to apply for a permit to take water that is under that threshold, I would be very surprised if the province were to enforce that. I hope that helps, but that's what I'm hearing now. If the applicant wants to correct me or respond to that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and maybe just one comment on the water wells, and I'm not sure there was a previous comment about 90,000, which I think might have been in reference to the sanitary as well, a question. So that 90,000, I guess, on the sanitary, just going back to that, was part of an analysis of square footage and using calculations from the Ontario Building Code to get to the 90,000. So we're talking about 90,000. I just want to clarify that on the sewage. On the water, our engineering, our experts are indicating similar to what the mayor has commented on, that permit to take water is not required. There is the proposal is to have 3 drilled wells that will accommodate the various levels of water as it relates to the proposed development. Ultimately, as we get into the phasing and the sizing of buildings, should there be consideration, that's something that would need to be further assessed, and discussion would have to occur with the township peer reviewer, because that is something in the comments as far as further testing of water quality and quantity. And then determination would be, I guess, reassessed relative to the permit to take water, but a phased approach, and the recommendation from our engineering firm is that a permit is not required. And it would be a decision based on a submission, if necessary, to the Ministry of Environment and not to the City of Guelph.
It's just interesting because the only way you could be assessed is by self-proclaiming your increase in volume. When you have a permit to take water, you have an obligation to do reporting on a daily basis. And this provides transparency and provides monitoring, provides quality control, and provides protection. And it concerns me that that's not something that would be important enough to be in this, to put that as part of your plan. That shows commitment and protection for all of our water.
You use the microphone?
Through the mayor, as far as water monitoring and ongoing reporting to the ministry, I would suspect that still would need to occur relative to the well for the operation on an ongoing basis, similar to how say any other well would need to share information to the ministry. So that's my understanding, that it wouldn't be wells go in and no one ever has to test them and report on them. My understanding is that there would be ongoing testing and reporting and monitoring.
Do we have anyone that could talk about that?
No, just speak into the mic.
Okay, could we have anyone that could answer that question? What the difference is with permit to take water and the monitoring?
Our hydro we can have that as.
Okay.
Hydrogeologist is not in attendance tonight, but my staff
I can
is.
talk briefly. I'm the township engineer.
Just hang on a
Stan
second.
unfortunately isn't here. So Stan Denny is the township hydrogeologist, Hardin Environmental. He would be the one who would know more about this. I think a permit to take water would be required in this case because I know I should just pulled up the website for the MECP. Just to confirm this, because my understanding it was based on the total property usage. And here they say it's required when a person or organization wants to take more than 50,000 liters per day. So I think there's a very good chance we would be needing a permit to take water here. On the other side of things, if a permit to take water isn't required, then the MECP, I don't think he would be providing them with any monitoring reports or anything like that. So you'd be, I mean, it's possible that the township could require something as part of initial site plan application, but that would probably also have like limited jurisdiction over time. So
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very well following me.
It's Anna Vera, 6964 concession 4. Just wondering if there is any way to, for example, just limit it to one well. So they ask for that and this is it.
That would be a technical detail.
Not just in case, you know, because
That's something they can.
if that's what they're saying, no permits, they don't need anything to do it, well, then that's basically the maximum they can take.
Well, I understand where you're coming from. Staff can take that as a takeaway that, if this, I don't know when in the process, but I feel where you're trying to go with that is that, if they use one well, then the taking would be a high enough amount and then thus trigger the water, permit to take water, which then provides the monitoring
Exactly.
protection. So I understand that, and staff can take that as a takeaway from tonight. Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to make it clear that if there is a requirement identified for a permit to take water, that the applicant will work with the ministry and will undertake the necessary permits to take water. And so that is something that we'll follow up with our engineering team and with the township. But I just want to be clear that if a permit to take water is triggered and required, it will be done.
All right, Christina Thompson, 4632 Side Road 20. Just to add on to this, when our well was monitored during the summer and it dropped, I called the city of Guelph and asked about that. And she said, she reiterated that yes, $50,000 was the threshold to take water.
1,000 liters.
Or sorry, liters. What did I just say? A long day. And I just want to say, doesn't it, I mean, my impression was that it was the whole property, regardless of like how many wells and buildings. But doesn't that kind of seem shady and designed on purpose to have different buildings and different wells to kind of go under the radar and cheat the system? If it is required, like if that is the way it is, that it's per building. That's just my comment there.
I'm gonna go off script there, slightly. Anyone in the room that had monitoring done on their well during the city of Guelph pump testing? If you have any data or experience with that, can you please email, staff? I'll just leave it at that in this very public forum, but council and staff are very interested to find out your experience due to that pumping that happened on Forestel, aside from this application. Thank you.
Sorry.
We have clear name and address, please.
My name is Kathy Blake. I live on Downing Road, number 4540. Years ago, I attended the Hanlon Creek Business Park Ontario Municipal Board hearings. So there are a few things here, but the Downing Road, I grew up on Downing Road, but it's the city of Guelph now. Went to school on Downing Road and now live on Downing Road, just further south than my parents lived across the road from what's the line now. So I'm a longtime Downing Road resident. Downey North goes into the subdivision, Cartwright Hills, and there's no truck traffic there. So Downey doesn't get a lot of truck traffic, heavy truck traffic at all. Something we discussed at our Ontario Municipal Board hearing. Our Ontario Municipal Board hearing was just the truck traffic on Downing was discussed. It's not a heavy truck used road. Lots of traffic now, but not trucks, because it's a road to nowhere. Once you get to Cartwright Hills, done. There aren't a lot of aggregate trucks on Downey, except recently with these excess soil trucks running all over the place. So really, aggregate trucks have been directed to the Hanlon, either on 34 or across Laird. At the Hanlon Creek Business Park meetings and the Ontario Municipal Board hearing for that, there was no outlet onto Downey Road. It was mentioned at one time that there could be an outlet at Forestel onto Downey for that traffic, but that figure 8 traffic that exists now inside of that, of the Hanlon Creek Business Park as it's developed, goes out to pick up the Hanlon at Laird. So that new overpass there, that traffic from that business park is to go over to Hanlon. I remember sitting at council and there was some talk about moving, even trying to encourage the Brock Road traffic, which runs through Aberfoyle over onto the Hanlon. I do remember council talking about that. This is
This is not a use for, well, it's a county road now. But and it does have I think in the spring, there are some restrictions on it as well. It goes through wetland, it's how it was built. It does sink, it has, so, but I think just overall, it just encourages an awful lot of traffic, including industrial trucks running through the township when we have the Hamlin right there. Let's find a place for this development that has access to the Hamlin, not to Forestell and Downey, and so that's what I have to say, because I think in the past, the Hamlin was built for that use, not Forestell, Downey, and 20 suburbs.
At this point, but I'm curious, would you mind sharing again the email of how we or I could share comments in the future? And also where I may be able to access the presentations from tonight, in addition to the meeting notes from tonight. Thank you.
So through you, Chair, the email that you can contact with comments is planning@questlynch.ca. And then all of the information from tonight's meeting will be on our website, questlynch.ca, under our council calendar. You'll see tonight's meeting date. You can click on that and you'll be able to find the presentations there. We'll upload them within the next day or two.
Thank you. Will there be notes with all the comments and the answers that were given in that presentation on the file?
So through the chair, the responses to comments will come with the recommendation report that's brought forward in the future. So it will not be included on that website page.
Thank you. And then tonight, people were able to ask questions and get responses. So in my email, can I expect responses as well from the applicant and questions I have?
If you have specific questions, you can provide them and then you can work through that commenting process.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Just lastly, there's one other email revealed from the county, and it's land division info@wellington.ca. That's another possibility.
Thank you. Will those channels also be listed on the Questlynch website?
I believe so, yes.
Thank you.
I don't know if the county will be hosting a separate website, right, location on county servers, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, we're gonna transition to the online folks, unless there's anybody who wants to stand up immediately. Right, just a
Yep. So if there's anyone online who would like to speak to the application, if you can please use the raise your hand function. You'll see it at the bottom of your screen on Zoom.
Microphone, please.
Well, they're online. She was speaking to the people online, so that's not close. She just asked me one. So also the people online, if you could just indicate your name when we see your name, but please state it and your address, please. And they would go through the computer just in your notice. Anybody else? Okay. We'll see how loud it is, and we may have to do a bit of a ad hoc with the microphone by the hour or something.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, I did not realize I would be heard. I thought I was going to type things in. So my name's Daniela DiFrancesca. I live on 30 Lake Road, so a little bit of ways from the proposed site. Just hearing about all of the environmental impact that this proposal will cause to the environment. Some of the things that I'd like to bring up are the compaction of the actual site of the industry, like that does have an effect on the water table. And I was just wondering if they did any hydrology studies on the impact of the industrial site, what that would cause in the future for those wetlands, the surrounding wetlands.
Just speaking that should come through these microphones. She should be able to hear us.
The environmental impact assessment did consider findings associated with the hydrogeological study and geotechnical study. I'd have to clarify on how they would assess compaction of the soil relative to the wetlands, but what I can say is the analysis of the overall proposed development on the wetlands was assessed with the input from the findings of the hydrogeological report and the geotechnical report.
Are there any other industrial sites in, I suppose, in the designated areas that are designated for industry? Are there any kind of hydrological studies that you can gain from those areas that have been there for years? Because as you know, as years pass, we also see the degradation of these areas where these industries are. And that's a huge concern with all of our wildlife and the species at risk here. I know there were bats were one of the issues. We have the turtles. We have lots of amphibians that will be cut off from the swamps to, I believe it was the north and the south that was mentioned prior. So what other studies have been completed to kind of ease our questions in that respect?
We can ask our hydrogeologists to see if they have any background knowledge associated with the comment on ground compaction. With regard to other studies, I think the natural environment study or the environmental impact study does look at impacts associated with amphibian movements and other wildlife movements and provide some recommendations with regard to mitigation and conclusions on that. So it looked at the seasonal surveys associated with the various species to come to those conclusions. So those list of studies are identified in the EIS and include amphibian surveys, bird surveys, wildlife surveys.
Mm-hmm. And are there going to be like coverts, like to help with turtle migration during their nesting season? What strategies are going to be implemented on, I guess, I believe that you had mentioned that there's going to be roads that are going to be gentrified. Are there any proposed plans for coverts for those migrating or the nesting turtles? What other types of plans do they have for these species that, based on a lot of studies that I've done through the Placentia Ecological Association, whether there's coverts or not, that's why I'm bringing up coverts, they don't tend to work, just like the buffer zones don't tend to work. So I feel like many of the residents that these allowing industry to push towards these very delicate areas is only going to invite more industry to then settle into those areas. So in my opinion, and I believe all the residents may agree, that really industry shouldn't be allowed to step foot in these sensitive areas, because you give an inch and you guys take a mile, right? So I would like to gain more knowledge on your plans. I will look into it. I just recently heard of this a couple of days ago, the plan for the industry development. So I will be pursuing more and understanding plans for this.
If there's anyone online who is interested in speaking, if you can please use the raise your hand function. You'll just see it at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah. Have a timeline for like what we would like to be home at midnight.
Yeah, no, like for the study. Oh. Like, do you have a decision timeline?
Hey, stand up to the microphone and ask them again, so that it gets recorded.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to know if there's a timeline of when this decision has to be made by council.
I'll pass it to staff. My understanding is that with all the comments received, the experts have to go back and forth. That does not have a definitive timeline. It's very much so applicant driven. Once it gets to the point where staff and the applicant come to a agreement or not, sometimes they just don't, then the applicant says, they want to bring this forward for consideration or deem complete, whatever that is. And then that will come, but that window of going back and forth with the comments and working through all of the public information, that does not have a definitive timeline. Is that a fair comment? So is there anything you would like to add for that?
Through the chair, at this point, we do not have a date that we're looking for a recommendation report to be brought forward. It'll be in the future.
Yeah, my only other comment would just be like, there should be a better screening process or something at the start, just so that even the applicant doesn't have to go through so much extensive studies to then potentially get rejected. And I just didn't know if there is a process where it could potentially be done so that it doesn't go to this level, because I do feel like we've spent a lot of money on studies, and to me, I see the opinion of the public, but I know that's not the only applicant or the only stakeholder here, but yeah, maybe in the future, some better screening can happen.
So I misspoke. We deemed this complete a while ago. So when we have applications of this magnitude, we encourage, there was a time where there was a pre-consultation mandated. And through that pre-consultation, staff will say to an applicant, here's your checklist of challenges. And if the applicant looks at it and says, this is too much, then they can abandon the application. But through that pre-con and working towards getting an application deemed complete, they will make the determination of whether they feel that the application is viable going forward. And once they decide that, they embark on doing those studies. So part of seeing all these studies done, I would say, is they feel their application has strong merit. I'm not suggesting that, but I agree with you. It's a lot of money to spend, but that was the risk. I you recall the employment land study. I believe it was Emily, maybe not, asked for the designation, and I said, well, why do you want the designation if you have your application in? And it was a risk management. So very much so, when you do this pre-con, you have to look at your risks as an applicant and then make that determination whether you want to go forward. So we do actually try to give them that guidance, not guidance, but these are the major hurdles you have to go through, and they have to take that away and decide if it's worth the investment still.
I think just to the question, and thank you to the mayor, and I would acknowledge that the township and staff we have gone through a process that has been quite thorough, and it was identified early on. What had happened as this process had started with the pre-application and the community meeting, it actually started in advance of even the Push Lynch by design process. So it was kind of going into a process, but I would just want to comment so that everyone is aware of the public that the township does have a process. We've been working with them through that process, and their staff and their peer review team have been providing comments, and all of that has been informing the studies as we've been responding to it. So it is a lot of work, and we're thankful for their time and efforts, and I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Just a practical question. As you can see, basically people are against the development. That's clear. And I would say every single step you'll take, you'll find, we're trying to put our input to stop the development. Is it feasible? Like, isn't it easier to maybe sell the land, get the money, and then add some more instead of, spending so much in studies, and just get it in a place that it's already there? There is industrial land available right across the street. So it's just a practical question to you. Yeah.
I'm not forcing you to respond to that. Yeah. It's Christie.
I moved here last year, so I wasn't here at the beginning of this, but my understanding is that the applicant wasn't supposed to be a part of the Blissledge by Design study and lobbied for himself to be included. Is that correct?
I love your questions. The initial submission by the Township of Blissledge it was called RCEDA at the time, and we always butchered that acronym and it turned to Blissledge by Design. Did not include the Estelle lands as part of the study area. It was submitted to the province and it came back from the province, they were included.
So Estelle submitted it to the province to be included?
No, my catching on technicality, I believe the county submitted the initial RCEDA study because they're the upper tier. They submitted it on our behalf to the province. We had a pretty large mapping that showed, down below the 401, up along the 401, up the Hamlin, but it did not include the Estelle lands. When that was returned to us, so that submission was an ask of the province for permission to study employment lands. And it was just a bigger net. When that came back, they said, yes, you can study these lands, but the Estelle lands were included, which we had not submitted for.
So why were they added? By the province? Like the province just magically knew about this property and added it to the study?
I'm going to say in a public forum that we submitted without the Estelle properties included, and it was returned by the ministry.
Okay.
The land was included.
So let's assume that the applicant wanted to be a part of the study. And he was, and the property was deemed not suitable. Do we not think that he should respect the results of that study?
All right, so I'm gonna lose the room here. I've heard it a few times that this property was deemed not suitable. My understanding of the employment land study is that all of the candidate sites scored relatively similar. So their land was not deemed not suitable. We had a recommendation for the lands below the 401 from Mary Lou. Council ad hoc added G&H from memory. But if staff want to correct me, but my understanding is all the lands were graded very similar. They all had their own different challenges, but end of the day, it was not included for probably proper reasons, but I struggle with not suitable because all of the lands in that have their challenges, so they all scored relatively similar. The decision was made for below the 401 and G&H.
I'm pretty sure I read it and I will try to find that it was not suitable because of its proximity to residential clusters, the hydrogeological concerns. I think transportation, farmland, but I'm pretty sure I heard that from Mary Lou in one of the council meetings when she presented the results directly.
And at end of the day, that study I don't believe has much bearing on this application.
Is that because he submitted it before? Early enough that it doesn't have to apply to him?
He submitted this under the old planning rules. It was a private application. So correct, whatever the timing was on the submission, any property can submit an OPA, ZBA. So instead of waiting for the employment land studies, if he wasn't included, which he wasn't, to come to fruition, any one of those property owners could say, you know what, it's going to be 3 years for that thing to be approved. I'm just going to do an OPA, ZBA on my own. So I don't want to wait. It's my investment. So by not being included, I'm sure, I'm just speculating, obviously then they decided to put a application.
Right.
So likely they would have waited longer if they were included. Any owner would have, because it probably saves some money and helps on the process.
Okay, because it just kind of seemed like he was trying to have it both ways. So apply early so it doesn't have to apply to him, but then get his plan studied so that if it did work in his favor, that works for him too. That's it. Does that
And
make
that's
sense?
only they would know that. We wouldn't know that, but I do believe, well, we had the discussions about overlay and protections and things of that nature that if the land was included. By submitting, if those say we were creating some overlay that was, called punitive or overly restrictive. Then definitely a developer would likely submit prior to those being in place. Them not being included in the employment and studies, I feel that's a new point because they weren't included, so any of the overlays, we ended up doing the policy area through what we did. It's getting to be a late night, but they had an opportunity to wait out the one process and that didn't go in their favor and to even submit their application, which anybody in this room can do for any of their properties. Oh, we didn't speak too much on that one. It's just. All right. Mr. Spriggin, David.
Last question. David Pitty, could you confirm whether there is an agreement with the city of Guelph that there can be no development within 1 kilometer of their city limits? I've heard that this exists. Does it exist? And does it apply?
It does not exist. However, there is a policy within the county official plan that states development within 1 kilometer of the urban boundary shall. Anyways, there's a county policy that directs growth away from, the boundaries, especially when we're near urban centers. I don't believe that's still in place. It is, yes. I will be upfront. I've been trying to get rid of that policy for 7 years because it's an archaic policy that it was intended, in my opinion, to drive growth to the center of the municipality to prevent the opportunity for these other municipalities to annex and then take your tax base. Now that West Lynch is, were built out, it couldn't even affect residential growth. If there was, if you look at George Gibbs subdivision on Victoria Road North, and look at that field. That field is at 1 kilometer from the city of Guelph boundary, right? And that was because of that prohibition from growth within the 1 kilometer boundary. And in my opinion, it was to prevent these larger municipalities from annexing this. I feel the annex rules are different now. And, with the pressures in West Lynch, we do need some growth, residential, whatever they need. So anyways, but it's still there, but I definitely was focused on that particular policy. Maybe too much information for tonight, but I have a little spiel here I have to read before once we conclude, unless there's any further questions. The councilors are telling me to wrap it up and stuff. Let me find my spot here. Council. Any clarification questions? No? Councilor Bailey, Councilor Hurst. Thank you for attending tonight. All right, we're adjournment. I declare this public meeting closed. Council will take no action on the proposal tonight. Staff will be reporting on a later date with a recommendation for council's consideration. If you wish to receive further notifications of a zoning bylaw amendment proposal, please email or call planning@westlynch.ca or by phone 519-763-1226 extension 4 or contact township staff during regular business hours. If you wish to receive further notification of the official plan amendment, please email landdivisioninfo@wellington.ca. One of those people who leave their names will be provided further notifications. If you wish to speak to the proposal and it is brought before council in the future, you must register as a delegation of municipal clerk prior to the meeting. That's it. Thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate it.